And in the Democratic primary for Virginia's 2nd Congressional District, NBC News can project former Congresswoman Elaine Luria has won that race as she looks to win back her seat. Incumbent Republican Congresswoman Jen Kiggans defeated her back in 2022. The two now head to a rematch in that battleground district. And joining me now is Republican Congresswoman Jen Kiggans of Virginia. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. So take us inside your strategy. Looks like you've got a rematch on your hands. What's your strategy going to be to win?
It'll be the same strategy we had in 22. I mean, there was a reason that the Virginia voters fired Elaine Luria back in 22. And one of the biggest reasons was because of her insider stock trading. She made $21 million during her 4 years in Congress. I have voted multiple times to ban insider stock trading. She went as far as saying that members of Congress should be able to inside stock trading. So that's one of the biggest things. I think you'll see the shift, and you just were talking about the shift in the Democratic Party to the far left, to the socialist side of the House. And when we look at what that brings to the plate and what the policy is that the socialists are supporting between, open borders, defunding law enforcement, defunding the military, letting prisoners go, transgender surgeries for minors. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that Americans should really be scared right now in watching the progression of the Democrats move to the left. And, I've had the privilege of representing this district for 4 years in Congress. I served in the state Senate for 3. I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a mom of 4. I'm a former geriatric nurse practitioner as well. So just understanding what this district needs and working so hard on those priorities to make sure we get government out of people's lives and keep their tax burden low, and thinking about the cost. I'm a mom who runs a family and things are expensive. We can acknowledge that. But we have a military to support, veterans to support, healthcare to fix. There's a lot more work to do. And I have the privilege of having served for 4 years, look forward to continuing to do that.
Let me ask you this, and you talk about your, obviously, Navy service. Your opponent has a Navy service as well in a district with a big military population. When it comes to this district, President Trump, I think it was just yesterday, said that you have his complete and total endorsement. So a full-throated endorsement for you from the president. Is that an endorsement you welcome?
And so I'll say, we're always grateful for any endorsements, especially when it comes from conservative leadership. But we run this district off of our record, off of the policies that I support, off of my priorities. Yes, I support the military as a military spouse, as a military mom, as a military veteran. I know this district, veteran issues are important to us, but there's so many other districts. We have other issues. We have businesses to support. We have families to keep safe. We have a border to keep secure. We need to keep government out of people's lives. So we run off of our record and the work that we've done as a Republican conference in Congress, but as a work I've done for the past 7 years of my life, and even before that, serving the country, serving my community, serving my family. This is the record we run off of.
Got it. So I hear you say that you welcome all endorsements from conservative leaders. Does that specifically include that you welcome President Trump's endorsement?
It's an honor to have the president's endorsement, as it's an honor to have the Speaker of the House's endorsement, Governor Glenn Youngkin, Republican leadership. This is going to be a fight about who's the parties and which policies we prioritize. And I think there's stark contrast between what I'm prioritizing as a common sense conservative. It's really a fight between that common sense and really craziness. And when you're looking at the far left movement of the Democrat Party, and especially what's being elected in some of these primaries, even this evening, it's scary to me as a person who loves this country, who has served this country, to be running against people who are anti-American, who are anti-capitalism, who don't support things like keeping our community safe, supporting law enforcement, supporting our military. So there's some stark contrast that we need to be highlighting all the way up till November.
Let me get you to respond to something that your opponent, Congresswoman Luria, said, and I'll read you a little bit of this quote from the former Congresswoman. Jen Kiggans broke her promise to be an independent voice in Washington, voting 100% of the time with Donald Trump to raise prices on working families, on everything from health care premiums to gas prices. How do you respond to that, given the fact that prices are up, gas above $4 a gallon in many places?
Well, that's just not true. And Donald Trump hasn't voted in Congress last time I checked. But what we have done is prioritize ways that we can save families money and reducing that federal tax burden. What we did with the Working Families Tax Plan with no tax on tips and overtime and increasing the child tax credit, codifying those federal tax breaks. Those are the ways that we could work in Congress to make sure you're keeping more of your hard-earned money. So, and we're fighting here in Virginia, a state government. We have Abigail Spanberger, who is a new governor who proposed 51 tax increases right off the bat, who's increased our electric rates, who said that she wouldn't gerrymander the Commonwealth and then turned right around and made that a priority. So we're fighting fighting a government here in Virginia that's really working hard to keep prices high. And I too, I have 4 children. Those children drive. I have a car that I have to put gas into. So I know that that's a priority of mine. We continue to talk about affordability, and I too am a grocery shopper and pay those bills as well. We've done work in Congress to lower things like housing prices, but to make sure, again, you're keeping more of your hard-earned money, but there's more work to do.
But very quickly, have you ever voted against the president's policies? Do you disagree with him anywhere?
We as a Republican conference and led by the president and the White House have certainly gotten the country on a much better track than it was on. We think about where we were under Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, and we move forward in this country. And government is challenging and it is difficult. But it's a privilege to be able to have a seat at that conservative and common sense table. But when we think about, especially my opponent and where she came from under the Joe Biden administration, how the world was less safe, how our borders are wide open, we think of the policy priorities of people like Nancy Pelosi, who my opponent supported. Those are the stark contrast differences. So is it perfect? No. Is there work to do? Yes. But I have the privilege of sitting on the right side of the aisle. We prioritize the needs of American families every day.
Congresswoman Kiggans, thank you so much for joining us and for taking time out of what I know is a busy and important night for you as we all crank the gears towards November. Thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate that.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.